Welcome to the Simply Be Found Huddle, where you have Dean and Rob talk about everything business and sales. Our whole goal is to be able to have you be able to grow your business by learning different insights and bringing different things to the table. Today we have our guest, Oscar. Oscar, welcome. Can you tell everybody a little bit about you, what you're about, what you do, and then we'll start having a conversation about whatever we decide to go down. Whatever rabbit hole for today.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you both for having me here as well. It's an absolute pleasure, and looking forward to it as well. So, just as a bit of a background of myself, so I've been in the SEO industry for over 10 years now. Goes incredibly quick, as we know. I fell into this without real preparation, I think, as most of us did as well, and I've been doing it ever since as well. So, in my current capacity, my role is a strategist at one of the leading SEO agencies in the Middle East, Asia, Europe region. But I've got a background from, event marketing. I've been in sales. I've done a whole wide range of roles within the agency space as well. So, real mix of experience to date. I'm sure we're going to talk about that a little bit more today.
A lot has changed in the last 10 years when it comes to SEO or anything inside of the marketing world. I mean, I've been personally doing it since 95, so 30 plus years inside of it, and we've seen a ton of changes. I mean, it's one of those things to where AI's made a change. A couple things that Dean and I were having a conversation this morning about was AI fatigue, and I'm going to call it the crash of AI of 2025, because when you give marketers anything, we ruin it. We overuse it. We use it to the maximum, and then it has to do a balance and a correction. Just like if you look at the U.S. stock market, it takes balances and corrections to make the world turn around. Are you seeing the same thing inside of your area for the fatigue of AI?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the main things, so in my day-to-day, I am often speaking to business owners, CMOs, very, very busy people, of course. Their kind of thought process on AI is still fairly basic, right? So they're using ChatGPT. They're very quickly creating content, and they're doing all that whole mix through those kind of platforms, right? And it's obviously causing some real issues, right? I think AI is super cool. We're trying to utilize it as an agency as much as we can, but to be completely honest, the best use case that we've got for it at the moment is more so like internal process. We're not really using it for any kind of outbound work, any client deliverables and that sort of thing, because honestly, it's just not there yet.
So you use it more as a data collection piece for the AI for you? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure. One of the coolest use cases that we've got for it, which affects my role directly, our tech lead has created this really cool tool. A lot of the calls that we have as an agency during our pitching process and that sort of thing is recorded. And for the most part, it's kind of outlined by a certain script that we've got and we've developed over time, right? Using the AI tool, we can compare the script versus the actual recording of the session that we've got that uses the transcript of that meeting. And then we can actually get kind of live feedback in terms of actually how well the pitch went, what we could change, maybe what the sentiment was, and what we could have improved as well. That for me is a super cool use case, right? But it's not necessarily client facing yet. It's just helping us behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things to where AI and SEO of where we are today is the same concepts, the same pieces. Even if I go 30 years back, it's building the right structure. It's building the right infrastructure of having everything stacked and bringing everything to connect together. Inside of today's world, there's more to connect than there ever has been, but it's the same principles at the bottom of the line. There's different tools that have came out that some agree with, some disagree with, for being able to use JavaScript, for being able to do SEO and being able to do some of that. I mean, you have some technology changes there. And I mean, you get into that whole black hat, white hat kind of approach for what that looks like. And I think that's a very gray area right now for where we are, but it comes down to making sure that you are doing the basics. Because if you're not doing the basics and building a good foundation for yourself, I'm a big believer that you're never going to make it very far without that. What are you kind of seeing on those lines, and what are your belief systems on that?
Yeah, Absolutely, completely agree. I think it's quite interesting, actually. I mean, again, I'm based in Dubai, Middle East. We haven't actually got AI overviews yet, as well. The rest of the world is seeing this. It's been out for weeks, if not months now, right? You guys have had it for a really long time.
It's
We've
been
still
full,
not got that.
full release about 45 days to the US. I think you guys are
Yep.
supposed to be getting it in fall.
It's taken a real long time. I don't know.
I don't know why.
Right.
Europe and all those guys didn't get it right away. But some parts of Europe I saw did. I just saw a study on this, and for some reason I'm thinking fall, but don't quote me on that, because I was kind of interested to see, because what we're seeing here in the States with the AI overviews, you're getting less website visits. And what you're seeing there, and you have to go through, and we're going back to the drawing board. So with Simply Be Found, we started off being very Google based. We ended up doing the shift, redesigned our software, rethought about our software for being more than just Google, and Google being actually a secondary thought, because it's not how it plays was actually hurting you worse in other areas. And it's kind of its own environment, and we kind of separated it out. Well, we're redoing the drawing board right now, because AI overview, and a lot of businesses are talking about this in the US. They've seen a cut in how much traffic goes to their website. And it's because people don't have to go to the website now. They're getting the answer directly inside of Google. And they're getting it directly inside of AI chat. So if it's not talking about you and you're not the reference source, you're going to be in trouble. And what does that look like? What does that do? So be glad that you guys don't have that yet, because we're seeing a whole piece here.
Yep.
No, that's what I've spent the last probably 48 hours or 72 hours digging into, of what that's going to change. Because it reminds me of, what was the algorithm update that happened from Google? BERT, I think it might have been. That changed search forever for how Google operated.
Yeah, Bard.
There we go.
Yeah.
No, that Bard is their Gemini or their AI. It was. I think it's called BERT.
Okay. The original AI. Yes, I think you're right. Yes.
So, but it was one of those things to where we're kind of seeing that right now, because you have to make sure that you're optimized in a different way to be able to do it, because the way people are interacting with search now is so different than what we were 90 days, 120 days ago. And we're moving at a very fast pace.
I'm glad that you guys are doing that as well, because again, it hasn't reached us yet. We're trying to figure out, okay, we're planning for the future, right? So we can see you guys working hard to get it right. So
watch us stub our toes and don't do the same stub, right? Is that what you're trying to say?
Exactly. Well, it's interesting because we hear a lot about it, but.
Yeah, I mean, the AI overview has definitely reduced how much traffic. I mean, it's hurt the construction world and any of the small businesses, especially because a lot of them didn't plan. So when you look at I guess the biggest thing I came up with for that is our tree concept for how that kind of works. So you have that root structure of a tree, and that's going to be your listings engine. That's going to be all your backlinks, your citations, your whole entire ecosystem of making sure your business information for NAP, so your name, address, phone number, is everywhere. That next piece is going to be your tree trunk. That's your website. That's your data hub. You're in control over that. You own that, and you're able to make sure that is set up correctly. That's where your on-page SEO and all that stuff happens. Your blog, I think, is a branch at the very top, because your blog can be used in multiple different places or ways, and you can do that in multiple areas. You have social, you have, your email marketing, you have all these different branches, and you have sub branches that come off of that. So when you look at your entire marketing, it is an ecosystem. And what everybody gets hung up on, I mean, Google's not the number one search engine anymore. YouTube is. They just happen to own it as well. I'm seeing this huge shift there. So you have to be able to pivot and be able to move forward and know what your ecosystem is. But if you don't have yourself set up organically in the right ecosystem, the right technical pieces in there, you're going to be left behind, and your competition is going to kick your butt every time, because, for one, we're moving at a faster pace than I think I've ever seen us move in the SEO world.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be interested, how are you guys finding? I know, I mean, it's kind of been coined as search everywhere, right? In terms of optimizing across all the search engines as well. And again, I guess we're a little bit late in terms of actually seeing how that reflects. But how we work with a lot of our clients is definitely moving towards there, particularly, of course, like the fashion industries and those sorts of things as well. How have you guys found that so far? Optimizing across full search engines?
Well, we absolutely love it for being able to optimize on there. If we use our listings engine for that majorly. Have you heard of our listings engine before?
Yep.
So it competes with Yext, it competes with SignUp, it competes with all the different, data aggregation companies or, listings engine management, whatever you want to call it. That listings engine, that's going to be what gets your NAP score. It's going to be what builds your backlinks up for you. It's going to go to work to be able to build that site up. I think if you don't have that root structure, you're going to be lost. If you don't have that website in place, you're going to be there. And then you have the technical SEO that comes into those pages as well. So that's something that we're at the forefront of. I think we were possibly one of the first 5 to ever talk about voice search, which voice search ties into all of that. And we kind of dived into that side. So it's one of those things to where we're majorly in front of that. I would say we're almost one of the industry leaders on it. But that seems kind of cocky, so I don't like saying that. What do you think, Dean?
I'm having technology issues. You guys are freezing up, and I'm only picking up every other word. Is anybody else?
Hey, all right.
So,
Are you guys? What are you guys doing for the whole listings piece right now? What are you guys seeing for that? Are you seeing that as important in your area as ours?
Yeah, for sure. Particularly, we actually very recently had a coach come in, flew them in from the UK as well, and I guess slightly outside of listings and that sort of thing, but particularly when it comes to search everywhere. I think this, as you said, it seems like the most amount of change that we've ever seen, right? I think in particular when it comes to the other search engines, TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, those sorts of platforms. Traditionally, SEO has been very techy, right? Very tech heavy, very, very focused. Now it's getting a lot more almost like fluffy and creative, right? And it feels like a lot of the existing skill sets that maybe we've got so far isn't maybe applicable to like the video-based content and that sort of thing, right? So I think, across the agency, everyone is really adapting how they think about search now. It's very fun because I think everyone's learning a ton more than they knew before, but it's quite daunting as well, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that, again, traditionally we wouldn't have been working on previously. But it's so important. And I think, as you said, obviously being one of the first to go into this, it's really important to stay ahead of the curve, right?
You have to. I mean, the biggest thing you have to remember is that search is all algorithms, no matter what type of search you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're using Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, voice search, or whatever you're using. If you're talking to your refrigerator, it's pulling from some database and algorithm that's going to deliver the best result for you. And it knows you. It's able to, with AI today, it's able to adapt to you a lot faster than what it ever has been able to be able to, I don't want to use the word manipulate, but I can't think of another word for how it manipulates those search results based on you. Because if it's not delivering the action, it's not going to keep you coming back and inside of the world of search. So your search results are very unique to yourself, versus somebody else's search results can be completely different. And I think that's where SEO is really going to get really kind of in a huge gray area, because it's not black and white anymore. Things have gotten smarter, and it's able to make decisions and deliver things more personalized to you, which is going to be good and bad. But it also means that as a business owner, you have to be following a very strict blueprint. You have to make sure you're putting content out. And I don't necessarily like the whole term of being found everywhere, but I mean, it works for what it is. You have to make sure you're doing it. And it's how you put those systems in place, or the company that you use to be able to put those in place. You have to know that it's the right information going out and it represents your company, because your entire search piece is a part of your company. It's your biggest salesperson you could ever have inside of any company.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most interesting things that I've personally found in my current role, so very much more towards, again, like the pitching for new business and that sort of thing. We get a lot of leads through ChatGPT now as well. Again, everyone's using ChatGPT for any walk of life now, right? So people looking for what agency do I work for, typically we come up quite well on that front as well. What I find super, super interesting is like the psychology behind that, because actually the leads that we get through ChatGPT actually are almost closer to like a referral, right? They're not really cold because they're being referred by ChatGPT. People are using this platform multiple times a day. It comes with a layer of trust that a cold lead doesn't, right? So actually the close rates of the ChatGPT created leads and other platforms is significantly higher than maybe colder lead sources as well. And I think that's crazy. that's absolutely wild for us, but it's really important for us to double down on that and vice versa for our clients as well. I'm not sure if you've seen the same.
I've seen the same. So I was talking with a roofer in the last week or so. So it's relatively new. And he goes, I can't believe I got a lead. Someone talked to ChatGPT about me and was able to pull my information up. And I was like, well, we submit the data. We put the right data structure in place for you to be able to hit those numbers. Because if you didn't have that, you would never be known inside of the search, or it wouldn't know as much about you. But it has to know the problem that it's going to solve. Because when someone goes to ChatGPT, they're looking to solve a problem. And if it doesn't know that you solved that problem, it's going to skip over you. You're going to be, left behind every single time. Yep. But I've seen that where people are saying that those leads are a lot more warm than they are cold. So I'm seeing that same piece. And the reason being is because they had a conversation with it. So a typical search inside, say I'm going to use a roofer, for example, would be, I have this problem. I have a leaky roof. The next thing that's going to come into there is, okay, here's the companies I recommend. Well, what are their ratings? Okay, now it went out. They looked at the reviews. Can they do this kind of roof? Can they do this or they do that? Or what do you think about this? You had a full conversation with it, just like you would a friend, and you feel like you know everything you need to about the company. But if they didn't put out the data to be able to match those pieces, they would never be able to make you would never hit the recommendation list.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's why it's so important now, right? I think that's only going to get more prominent over the years to come, right? So got to do it now.
Well, and that's a huge piece. Go for it, Dean.
Okay. Oscar, you talk about your clients. Well, give me an idea of the breakdown of your clients. Are they small businesses, like one or two entrepreneurs? Are they bigger? I mean, do you approach everybody the same? I mean, just try to give me a little bit of rundown about how you guys kind of approach the SEO piece on that.
Yeah, of course. It's a real mix, to be honest, actually. So, I mean, we work with a lot of incredibly large businesses. We're very fortunate to work with, the Middle East kind of branches of like Amazon, for instance. We work with big fashion marketplaces and some other really cool ones like Nissan and that sort of thing as well. On those, obviously, SEO is a little bit different. It's slightly different strategies. But we also get the chance to work with some really cool startups as well. I think that's one of the cool things about being based in the Middle East. There's a lot of like the startup hub almost of the world, right? There's so many startups that come through, particularly in the UAE where I'm based. Saudi Arabia is really up and coming now as well. There's a lot of new businesses being formed as well, particularly in the AI space. They're doing some really cool stuff. So we work with a real mix. I mean, tons of different industries. And of course, we have to adapt the strategy depending on what they're doing as well.
So can you give me an example? So I mean, we've talked about SEO, and you don't have to be in business for 50 years. You can start to compete at SEO no matter if you're a brand new company. What's your approach for that, for like a small startup? I mean, the bigger startups, that's a whole different animal, like you said. But the small businesses, what we really want to try to find out about how that might be different over there in the Middle East anyway.
Yeah, of course. Great question. So, particularly for us, I'm going to use like software as a service as an example, because again, traditionally with those kind of companies, it's very much kind of creating content about the pain points, right? It's very much kind of pain point orientated. Create the content strategy based on that. That's very much how we like to focus it. Kind of, I hate saying like thought leadership style content, but that's super important.
Well, no, content's king still, right? I mean, basically,
it is
SEO, right? Okay.
Exactly. So you've got, the traditional content that we're used to. It's the blogs, the guides, the how-tos and those sorts of things. But now it's also stretching to, again, okay, we need to start, getting a little bit more visibility on Reddit. Also, TikTok is actually really great. It's a really popular platform out here. A lot of people use it for product services and and that sort of thing. So we're typically using tools like keywordtool.io and those sorts of platforms to actually see where the search demand is. That's really one of the first pieces that we do for any of our clients. I think you made a good point. Search everywhere doesn't really apply to everyone. So actually, it's really important to actually find out where it applies for them, what channels are going to be prioritized, and then building the strategy from there. And then we need to find out what kind of content we need to create, right? And that's where it starts to get a little bit more creative.
So Rob and I were having a conversation today, Oscar, and I love your input. What do you think is the frequency that goes? I mean, we talked about what used to be. Are you starting to see trends that things are changing because of all the content that's being created through AI processes? So Rob and I were kind of having that conversation earlier today. So what's your take on that? Because I always like to get other people's opinions as well. Because I just like to know how many blogs you need to do. Kind of give me a rundown of the whole thing of how you guys kind of approach that, because I know that's changed a little bit. It's shuffled around a little bit. So where do you think we're at, and where do you think we're going?
Yeah,
that's a really deep question. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a loaded question right there. I'm going to apologize for that question to come over to you, Oscar. I'm excited to hear your answer, though.
No, it's a good one. Our methodology has always been the same, and I'm sure it aligns with what you guys think as well. It's always kind of quality over quantity, right? No matter what kind of format that content comes in as well. I think a good example is kind of the video format that you get on like the Reels and the TikToks and YouTube even as well. There's tons of like AI generated UGC content now, right? Floods the market completely. The point of UGC content was to build trust, and now it's been taken over the AI, and it's worthless, and it's really gone away from the original point of doing that, right? So there's a flood of this AI generated UGC content. How good is it? Very, very low. And again, it's the same for the blogs. It's the same for the guides and that sort of stuff, right? There's tons and tons of AI created content now. We have continued with what we always felt, because again, for Google, for any of the search engines, it's all about kind of the user experience, right? Build it for the user experience. Every single search engine that we work across is going to appreciate that, whether it's written content or it's video content. Each one of these search engines is competing to keep the users there, right? And now more than ever, because there's so many search engines and people are actively using them. So no matter what content we create, we try to make it as strong as possible and to keep users there. And that kind of methodology has helped us so far. And we believe that's going to be how we continue moving forwards as well. Again, we don't know what everything's going to look like in 6 months, right? It's changing so rapidly. We're going to have to adapt, I'm sure. But our methodology, I think, is going to stay the same for that, quality over quantity.
How much? So when you're working with a client right now, what are you recommending? Say they're a contractor. What are you recommending for how many posts to Facebook and to social per week?
It depends. It absolutely depends on the industry as well. I think like, for instance, like fashion is a good example, right? Fashion businesses are typically posting a lot organically, and they will need to continue to do so to reach their existing audience. How we've kind of adapted what we recommend as an SEO agency. Just for reference, we are an SEO agency. We don't do organic social. We don't do email marketing. We're very, very narrowly focused in terms of what we do. So where we're helping businesses there is more so with kind of, almost like script optimization, what kind of hashtags we need to do, what kind of topics need to be covered, and that sort of thing. So it's more so, again, as it always has been for the SEO, it's looking for like the evergreen topics, right? So it's not necessarily always trying to hit trends as they come up, which is going to be becoming more important, of course, as well. But it's more so looking for those evergreen opportunities. So in terms of a number, it's very hard to say. I mean, typically across most of the clients that we work with, it's at least, 2 to 4 pieces of content on a website, new pieces of content, and then organically through social, like the evergreen stuff, but at least another couple at a minimum. But it completely depends on the industry, to be honest. It'll vary a lot.
Okay. I mean, it depends on which industry you're looking at and being able to do there. I mean, I always say that 3 posts on social media per week for the most average local businesses is going to be enough. especially if you're doing 3 videos for video marketing, and you're also putting those on. So it takes you to 6, gives you a variety and has things in there.
Yep.
We're kind of working on what that blueprint's going to look like, especially with the AI overviews that are happening in ChatGPT and what that's going to look like. But it's quality over quantity, and it's being real. So inside of the world of marketing, you have 3 pillars. You have content, you have authority, and you have trust. And I mean, that's not going to change no matter what happens in the market. You got to be putting out good quality content. You got to build authority and build trust on there, especially for SEO. With all these new AI SEO tools and everything coming out, what is your opinion and what are you seeing over in the Middle East for like the JavaScript ways of coming in and making SEO changes versus making them direct? What's your opinion on that? What are you seeing?
Yeah, we're seeing some really cool stuff, to be honest. I think the UAE, where I'm based, is one of the biggest adopters of AI in terms of countries in the world. They very recently announced that, for instance, I think from grade 3 onwards in schools, they're going to be teaching AI. So like 6 or 7-year-olds are now learning about AI at that age, right? So in 20 years' time, you can imagine kind of the tech that's going to be coming out of this country, right? It's going to be absolutely incredible. So as a country, I think where we're based, they're really, really adapting to it. They're really pushing it as much as possible. I think when it comes to how that affects our kind of work, again, there's some really cool case studies, right? Again, for the most part, in terms of the clients that we work with, we're not using AI at all in terms of deliverables or output. We don't believe it's there yet. I'm sure it will be in the near future, but it's not quite there. So the AI that we use is very much kind of behind the scenes and kind of process related as well. We developed a really cool one. So we've created hundreds, if not thousands, of SOPs, right? Standard operating procedures in terms of kind of step-by-step how we need to operate as an agency, how do we correctly do the task, right? Do the work. We have plugged all of those into an AI agent that we've created. It's learned from every single SOP that's been developed. And then we've essentially created this chatbot that anyone at the agency who works here has available to. And if you've got a quick answer or quick question around what needs to be done, what the next steps are, it immediately puts it out. So rather than delving through, again, thousands of SOP documents that have been created over the last 12 or 13 years, they've got immediate access to that kind of stuff. So that's a really efficient way for us to use it, right? But again, it's very much process-led at this point. We're not implementing it at all for our clients.
So you basically use an AI as just an internal document to review your procedures and things of that nature and provide answers for your staff. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Basically, it's just an assistant that's inside there. It's that low-level assistant that keeps making sure that you're staying on track of what it is. I mean, that makes total sense. From an SEO standpoint, what are you guys doing to make sure when it comes to Schema? What are you guys seeing for best practices there? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, in terms of Schema markup.
Yes.
Are you tying Schema into voice search at all, or is voice search in the Middle East thing right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not. I wouldn't say it's particularly utilized. It's hard to say if that's going to become more prominent or not. Again, only times will tell, right? I think in terms of how we treat Schema at the moment, again, it's always been kind of very similar. And I think those kind of bite-sized snippet-based pieces of content that are super informational, super rich, is always how we try to develop content for our clients as well. And that seems to be playing a large part there. And again, that then feeds, of course, into the chatbots and the AI ChatGPTs and those sorts of things, right? So we're trying to utilize that as much as possible, but our strategies remain fairly consistent. How have you guys adapted?
So we use Schema is what powers basically everything for here for a website, and that's how people are winning. Especially your local business schema is a huge piece. Your FAQ schema that goes around any of your questions and question-based, and it ties in. It causes that whole connection piece inside of your tree, making everything kind of come together. Tells it exactly what it is, so that way you're not at the edge of the seat of hoping that it connects and understands what you mean by that content. So, I mean, we see a higher ranking for businesses that have proper schema and proper site structure set up than we do the ones that do not. I mean, that website is extremely important in there. And if your website's not going to work for you if it doesn't have the right schema.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's an absolute huge piece. What are some of the biggest problems you're seeing right now that you're solving for clients coming in?
Yeah, good question. I think, and this is very region specific, I think, as well. It's quite interesting being here because I say this with absolute respect for the businesses that are here, but I think the Middle East is, probably 5 or 10 years behind the West and behind Europe in terms of their knowledge of SEO. We quite often have to convince people of the benefit of doing so, whereas I think that kind of stage has left the rest of the world, right? People are aware and they understand the importance of it.
Well, here in the United States, I would say probably only, if I was to put a number on it from a data science perspective, for a fully optimized business, you're probably only looking at for anywhere between 1 and 25 employees. So your small business world, I would say the numbers may be between 1 and 3% that are actually fully optimized.
Oh yeah, I would probably agree with that. I mean, it's really pretty low, Oscar.
I mean, because a lot of times it comes down to they don't have the money to be able to do it. They're coming in on doing it, and they don't have the understanding. So that whole entire understanding piece is a real thing because they're afraid of it, and they're not sure what to do with it. So inside of the United States, you get a lot of people who want to build a website, and they get told by the designer it's a beautiful site. Sometimes it absolutely looks amazing, but it's not converting. They're not driving any traffic to it, and that's where they're stuck at. Or they just don't know where to start at the very beginning. Would you agree, Dean?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because, we have somebody says, I have a young man that designed it or a young lady that designed the site. And like Rob said, it's beautiful, but then you go look at the schema markup and it's nothing. And then they're going, well, why is nobody finding us? And that's a big problem.
And we have a lot of designers, and we have, some of them do great work. And I'm not dissing them at all when I say this, but they take a course, they design one website, and next thing you know, I'm a web developer. Well, I come to it from such a different aspect. So inside of our business, Dean is the business owner. He is he's the advocate for the small business. It keeps me kind of in check for that. I understand. I love that environment for that small business piece. But you have to be able to make it simple for them. I was going to go somewhere with this, and it was a big thought, and I just totally lost my train of thought. Damn it. I hate when I do that.
I'm interrupting you, Rob, but we talked about the website design. In the United States, the mobile aspect is huge. Is it that way? Is it that way in other countries as well? I don't know because I've never been there. But the mobile friendliness, it really drives drives that SEO value up as well.
Well, that's where I was going to go with that. So these designers come in, and they think they're a great designer, but it takes that experience of knowing how to be able to put that right strike structure and making sure it's mobile friendly, tablet friendly, and it works on every device, and that you're connecting it all together. That's where I was going to go with that.
Okay.
But I'm assuming, Oscar, you guys fight the whole entire mobile versus tablet versus TV, whole entire piece over there. I mean, I think everybody's fighting that at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I think actually, I saw some stats. The Middle East actually uses mobile a little bit more than most other regions as well. One of the biggest things here is that a lot of from e-commerce to lead gen, really large amount of business is generated via WhatsApp as well. So WhatsApp honestly is just super crucial, and of course, people using WhatsApp are always going to be coming from mobile version of the website as well. So super important for us as well. But then actually it adds another layer of complexity because of course traditional tracking isn't necessarily going to work once they are going through WhatsApp, and you need to kind of tie those loose ends as well. But definitely something that's super important for us as well. Yeah.
Well, that's a piece I like to talk about. Analytics have not caught up to where we are. We're not reporting. So from a data science point of view, we're not able to collect the data on a lot of the different ways that people are finding you, which makes it really hard for us to make decisions on where things are coming from, which means it takes you going through and asking the question of how did you find me? That data is still going to be the best thing because, people say they Googled you and they're actually using Bing. other countries, and including the United States, they use the hell out of social media. People are using these different pieces to find things. AI, all these different assistants coming out and co-pilots and all that stuff. It's changed it, but analytics is behind the curve. We're really not tracking how many people came from AI versus, we can see it inside of Google Analytics for a line item sometimes, but that doesn't mean they didn't have a conversation, pick up the phone and call you, or they didn't put in your name inside of Google after they looked at it on the AI instead of asking, clicking on the link in the AI to be able to generate the callback of where it came from. There's all those pieces for referral data that is not caught up. You don't know how many people used voice. You don't know what they asked for. There's all those pieces that come up to where I almost think reports right now are almost probably just noise. Most businesses don't give two shits about it. All they care about is how many leads are coming in, how many phone calls, and what their sales are.
Yeah. I think actually that ties back to something I was going to mention earlier as well. I think particularly when it comes to here, and again, it sounds like you guys are facing very similar issues over in the US, but in terms of people's understandings, again, they're not that convinced on SEO. They're skeptical. Maybe they work with a couple of bad agencies, bad apples, and they don't want to do it anymore, right? I think exactly what you've just said, like how we change their minds 9 times out of 10 is focusing on the revenue and the ROI. And actually, really surprisingly, a lot of the agencies that I suppose we're pitching against don't really do this. And I think a lot of agencies actually miss out on that aspect a little bit. They forget about they forget why they do SEO, right? It's ultimately the bottom line at the end of the day. And by doubling down on that, honestly, I think that's really helped us. It sounds like it's done the same for yourselves as well.
Yes, it has. It's one of those things to where I always joke that a lot of SEO and web development companies, they provide these big fancy reports and send you weekly reports to be able to justify what you're paying them.
Yeah.
And you're not paying attention to what really matters. Is the phone ringing? Am I making more money? I used to say, having more money in the bank account, and then someone called me out and goes, money comes into my bank account, but it doesn't stay in there. My wife is spinning it as fast as it comes out. I'm like, hey, that's not my problem. I can't help you on that. But but marketing is probably the biggest drug for a business owner out there, because when marketing works, you're constantly always looking, and you'll keep feeding more money into marketing when it's inside of a working state. But it also is to the point to where when it's dead or you need to pivot, you're like, well, and this is where we are right now for a lot of businesses. You're in a state where you have people doing the old school pieces that because it worked one day, they're putting all this money over this, they're putting all their eggs in one basket. And if you're not being everywhere, you're going to be screwed.
Yeah.
This technology isn't working the way it was. The algorithms aren't the same. Our whole entire universe of search is completely different than what it was. And I see a lot of people spending money on ads and doing different stuff. Like what used to work, well, that's great. But is it working now? Are you seeing the same thing there?
Yeah, for sure. For a lot of our clients, so we do ads in tandem with SEO, and that extra layer of data really helps us, right? We love getting that extra level, getting actual conversion rates on specific keywords. We've used single keyword ad groups in certain extent as well. So that, we love doing them in tandem. Tons you can get from that. But for a lot of the clients that we've worked with for years and years, their cost per clicks are 3 or 4 times what they were a couple of years ago, right? And I think that's always the way that Google is going to be pushing things, right? And we just need to adapt as much as we can to try and bring that kind of cost per lead down as much as possible. But definitely something we're facing as well.
Yeah, so my joke to a lot of, not really a joke, but it's a statement to a lot of small businesses. You can go broke in marketing yourself. You just got to make sure that if you're going to spend the money, put it in the right places. And that takes, so that gets to be into the analytics that Rob and I talked about is your bottom line, are you getting more calls when you do this? It gets hard to track, especially if you don't do coupons or something of that nature, because, you don't have any way of physically knowing, because like you said, we've talked about Google becoming a verb instead of an actual, they may have used a different process, but they say, I Googled you. Well, you don't really know where that came from.
Yep.
There's a lot. Marketing's always been that way. We could go all the way back to the 80s and the 90s. You had to be able to come up with something because you didn't know if they found you in yellow pages unless you asked. You didn't know why they came in. Did they see you because you're a billboard? Did they see you because of an article in the newspaper? Did they see you because of this? You have to ask to know what that is, and you have to use a gut judgment on if it's working for your business or not. If you're not getting enough, and I think a lot of businesses are stuck in this point right now where they're putting money into stuff that's not working because it's always been what they did, and now they're not getting those results. I call that, like, going back to that drug piece. It's kind of like, searching for that first time high, and you're not finding it, and you're wondering why, and you're going to stay there. Well, that's why you have to go off and you have to adventure in other spots. But you have to be able to know what is working for your business. And if you're not making money and not hitting that, it's a huge aspect. The other piece that comes into that same piece of where people are in the United States, I think, is I'm spending this, but I think I could be getting more than what I'm currently getting, and I could do better than where I am. And I think with the way technology is, they're more exposed to AI to be able to talk to ChatGPT about that problem, which is going to hurt a lot of SEO people, because now the truth is going to be out. And a lot of SEO companies, let's face it, and this has gotten better in the last probably 10 years since you've started doing this, Oscar, but it used to be that hidden gem, that hidden sauce. Nobody wanted to talk about what they were doing. It was all the secretive, underground, complicated pieces. And they sold it. The more complicated you can make it, the higher amount you can sell it for. And I mean, that's the whole entire game they were playing majorly inside of the US. Dean, I think you fell into that and bought into that with your other companies a couple of times.
Yeah, I got sucked into a couple of things that didn't work out real well. And I think all businesses go through that, but you learn from it.
You do.
You have to say, oh, that didn't work, and I won't do that again. So that's the hard thing in marketing and trying to convince people that they need to be doing these things, because SEO is kind of elusive in some ways.
Yeah. And even more so 10 years ago, right?
Make it simple.
Yeah.
Yep. There just wasn't the content, there wasn't the resources, there wasn't the influencers guiding things now, right? So
exactly. So Oscar, if anybody's interested in working with you, where would they find you at, buddy?
Yeah, of course. Our website is SEOsherpa.com. I'd be more than happy to have a conversation, talk about things a little bit further. Again, our specialty is technical SEO, content, international, regional. We do it all. While we are based in the Middle East, we work all around the world. So yeah, definitely some thoughts we can have.
That's perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure, Oscar.
Likewise. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you both as well. Really, thank you for having me here.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.